Close your eyes for a moment and picture a land so wild, so unforgiving, and yet so breathtaking that it feels like Earth's final frontier. A place where mountains rise like ancient titans, oceans roar with forgotten stories, and an unbreakable people carve their destiny out of ice, blood, and impossible courage. This is Norway, not the postcard country you know, but a brutal battlefield of survival, a cradle of Viking thunder, and one of humanity's most astonishing transformations. Today, you're about to witness the entire saga, raw, real, and untamed. If you love your country, subscribe. If you love your mother, comment below. Norway's story begins long before the first Viking raised a sword, long before kings carved their names into stone, long before anyone imagined a united nation at the edge of the frozen world. To understand Norway, we must step into a land shaped not by human ambition alone, but by ice, storms, and the relentless hand of time. Thousands of years ago, the land we now call Norway was trapped beneath a gigantic ice sheet. Imagine a world entirely silent. No forests, no villages, no human footsteps. Just endless mountains buried under glaciers so massive they crushed valleys and sculpted fjords with unimaginable force. When the Ice Age slowly released its grip around 10,000 years ago, it left behind one of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth, a place both beautiful and brutally harsh. Into this transformed land came the earliest settlers, reindeer hunters and nomadic families migrating north after the glaciers melted. These people were not the Vikings we picture today. They were survivors, quiet, resilient, moving with the seasons. Their tools were simple, but their instinct for survival was extraordinary. They lived off wild animals, fish from icy rivers, and the landscape that alternated between generous and merciless. For thousands of years, their culture evolved through isolation. Norway was far from the great civilizations of Europe, yet it was also free from their wars and empires. By roughly 4000 BCE, farming communities began to appear, bringing cattle, grains, pottery, and a new way of life. The land was still rough, but the Norwegians, or the ancestors of Norwegians, learned to work with it. They built villages near fjords, fished along the coast, and adapted to winters that could easily kill the unprepared. The sea became their lifeline, their teacher, and eventually, their destiny. As centuries passed, Norway grew into a patchwork of tribes and petty kingdoms. There was no single ruler, no united identity. Each region had its own customs and leaders, and alliances shifted like the tides. But from this fractured world emerged a group of people who would shape global history, the Vikings. The Viking Age, starting around the late 700s, is perhaps the most electrifying chapter in Norway's story. These were not just warriors. They were explorers, traders, shipbuilders, and pioneers of navigation. Imagine stepping into a longship, narrow, carved, and powered by both sail and oars, slicing through waves with terrifying speed. These ships allowed the Norwegians to go where few dared, across oceans, through storms, into unknown lands. Vikings from Norway raided the coasts of Britain, Ireland, and Europe, but they also founded settlements in Iceland, Greenland, and even reached the shores of North America centuries before Columbus. Their courage wasn't fueled by cruelty, it was fueled by necessity. Norway's land was beautiful, but not plentiful. Mountains limited farmland. Harsh winters limited survival. So, the sea became their highway, and expansion became their solution. But Norway wasn't just a land of raiders, it was a land of transformation. As the Viking Age evolved, so did the Norwegian identity. Pagan gods like Odin and Thor ruled their world, until Christianity slowly entered through trade, diplomacy, and the influence of European kingdoms. This shift wasn't smooth. It sparked conflicts between chieftains, battles for power, and clashes over belief. Yet, out of this chaos rose a man who would forever change Norway, King Harald Fairhair. Harald is remembered as the first king to unify Norway, around the year 872. His ambition was fierce, almost legendary. According to tradition, he vowed not to cut his hair until he had conquered every petty kingdom. And when he finally unified the land after the Battle of Hafrsfjord, Norway began its transformation from scattered tribes into a single nation. Still, unity didn't mean peace. Norway would face centuries of power struggles. By the Middle Ages, The Black Death ravaged the land, killing nearly half the population. Farms emptied, villages vanished, and entire regions were left in silence. The tragedy weakened Norway politically, and for centuries, the country fell under the influence, and eventually the control, of Denmark. For nearly 400 years, Norway lived under the Danish crown. Norwegian culture didn't disappear, but it slept, diluted beneath foreign rule. The Norwegian language evolved separately from written Danish, and the country lost much of its political independence. Yet the Norwegian spirit remained, quiet but unbreakable, much like its earliest ancestors. In 1814, Europe was reshaping after the Napoleonic Wars. Norway seized this moment to declare independence, creating its own constitution, one of the most progressive of its time. But freedom came with a compromise. Norway was forced into a union with Sweden. This wasn't the independence the Norwegians dreamed of, but it planted a seed. A national awakening began. People rediscovered their history, their folklore, their literature, their identity. National pride grew like a flame that refused to be extinguished. By 1905, that flame erupted into full independence. Norway voted overwhelmingly to dissolve its union with Sweden, emerging as its own nation once again. For the first time in centuries, Norwegians ruled Norway. The 20th century brought new challenges. During World War II, Nazi Germany invaded Norway. The occupation tested the nation's courage, but the resistance movement, ordinary men and women, showed extraordinary bravery. When the war ended, Norway emerged wounded but determined. Then, in the late 1960s, something unexpected happened. Norway discovered oil in the North Sea. Overnight, a once poor nation had access to unimaginable wealth. But unlike many countries, Norway didn't fall into chaos or corruption. Instead, it built one of the world's most responsible and admired economic systems. Oil money was placed in a sovereign wealth fund, the largest on Earth, ensuring future generations would benefit. From Viking raiders to peace mediators, from frozen fjords to global leadership in equality, technology, and quality of life, Norway's journey is nothing short of a miracle. A small, rugged land carved by ice became a symbol of progress, justice, and human resilience. Today, Norway stands as one of the most prosperous, peaceful, and forward-thinking nations in history. But its story, from ancient hunters to world explorers, from foreign rule to independence, from poverty to wealth, remains one of the greatest transformations the world has ever seen. Norway's history is not just a timeline. It's a testament to what courage, perseverance, and unity can achieve. It's a reminder that even the harshest lands can create the strongest people. And it's a story that continues to inspire the world. What part of Norway's journey surprised you the most? The Viking exploration, the struggle for independence, or its rise from poverty to global prosperity? If you love your country, subscribe now. History is not just a collection of dates and names. History is a mirror, a reflection of who we are, how far we've come, and how far we dare to go. When we look at a nation like Norway, we're not just looking at geography on a map. We're looking at a story forged by nature itself. A story where the cold became a teacher, the sea became a battlefield, and human courage became the greatest weapon of all. Norway is a land that forces you to think. How did a country with so little farmland, such brutal winters, and so many natural barriers rise to become one of the most peaceful, prosperous, and admired nations on Earth? How did a small group of tribes, scattered along fjords, isolated by mountains, transform into explorers who touched continents no one else dared to reach? How did a people who suffered centuries of foreign rule rise again to shape their destiny with dignity and strength? This documentary is not just about Norway's timeline. It's about the spirit that built Norway. A spirit that was born before kings, before Christianity, even before the famous Viking Age. To truly understand Norway, we must turn back the clock to a time when the world was still healing from the last ice age. When the first humans walked across a frozen wilderness that seemed impossible to tame. When survival wasn't just a challenge, it was a daily battle. Those early settlers didn't build empires. They didn't write laws or invent politics. They simply learned how to live in harmony with a land that demanded respect. They learned that to survive here, you had to accept the rules of nature, not bend them. And without realizing it, they laid the foundation for a culture that values resilience, humility, and strength. But Norway's silence could not last forever. Over centuries, the population grew, the tribes evolved, and the desire for identity grew stronger. And from that desire, from that hunger for more, something extraordinary was born: the Viking mindset. The Vikings were not accidents of history. They were the inevitable result of living in a land that required courage as constant as breath. When resources were scarce and winter stretched endlessly, people had two choices: surrender or push beyond the horizon. The Norwegians chose the horizon. They sailed into storms, into the unknown, into danger, not to destroy the world, but to understand it, conquer their fear, and find new opportunities for survival and glory. The world often remembers the Vikings for their raids, but forgets their brilliance as navigators, traders, engineers, and explorers. They were the astronauts of their age, pioneers breaking boundaries with nothing but wooden ships and an unbreakable will. But this documentary is also about something deeper than Viking voyages. It's about how Norway changed, not just politically, but spiritually. How a land once ruled by pagan gods transformed into a Christian kingdom. How civil wars, shifting alliances, and brave leaders shaped a nation struggling to find unity. One of the most powerful themes in Norway's story is resilience. Not just the resilience of warriors, but the resilience of ordinary people. Farmers who rebuilt their lives after the Black Death. Families who survived centuries under Danish rule without losing their identity. Writers, artists, and thinkers who kept the Norwegian soul alive even when the country had no throne, no armies, and no independence. Then came 1814, the year that changed everything. Norway's constitution, one of the most modern of its time, emerged from a deep desire to be free. A desire that didn't vanish even when the union with Sweden forced another chapter of patience and struggle. A desire that finally erupted into full independence in 1905, not through war, but through unity, diplomacy, and determination. Yet the story did not end there. Norway's greatest test came during World War II. When Nazi Germany invaded, Norway's fate hung in the balance. But again, the Norwegian spirit refused to break. Resistance fighters risked everything. Civilians protected neighbors at the cost of their own safety. Leaders made decisions that shaped the future of Europe. When the war ended, Norway emerged battered, but unbroken. Then came the moment that would change Norway forever: oil. Black gold beneath the sea. Many nations have discovered wealth, and many nations have fallen because of it. But Norway did something different. It planned. It saved. It invested in its people. It created the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, not to enrich a few, but to secure the future of generations yet unborn. Today, Norway stands as a symbol of what a nation can become when courage, wisdom, humility, and unity work together. But beneath all the success, the wealth, and the global admiration, Norway's heart remains the same as it was thousands of years ago: simple, honest, strong, and deeply connected to nature. This documentary will take you on a journey from the Ice Age to the modern age, from Viking swords to democratic ideals, from ancient whispers to global leadership. Every chapter of Norway's history teaches something about survival, about ambition, about identity, and about the power of a people who refuse to be defined by their hardships. By the time you finish this story, you'll understand why Norway is not just a country. It's a living example of human resilience. A reminder that greatness doesn't always come from wealth, or numbers, or empire. Sometimes, greatness comes from the courage to endure, the wisdom to grow, and the strength to rise again and again. So sit back. Let the mountains, the fjords, the battles, the kings, the tragedies, the triumphs, and the miracles of Norway unfold before you. Because this is not just history. This is the epic of a nation carved by nature and perfected by its people. Norway, a land of breathtaking fjords, towering mountains, and endless northern lights. But beneath this serene beauty lies a history shrouded in mystery, secrets, and untold stories that have shaped the nation we know today. From the earliest settlements to the age of the Vikings, Norway's past is not just a tale of kings and battles. It's a saga of survival, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of power in a land as harsh as it is majestic. Imagine a land blanketed in snow for months on end, where only the strongest could endure. Around 10,000 years ago, after the last ice age receded, nomadic hunter-gatherers began to explore the jagged coastlines and dense forests of Scandinavia. These early settlers left behind artifacts that hint at a civilization deeply connected to nature, yet fiercely independent. Archaeologists have discovered tools, weapons, and cave carvings that suggest a society both sophisticated and secretive. But who were these first Norwegians? And what drove them to inhabit such a challenging land? As centuries passed, Norway became home to numerous tribes and small kingdoms. Yet much of this early history remains a mystery. Ancient texts are scarce, and the stories that survived were often written centuries later by outsiders, like monks or foreign chroniclers. Legends tell of powerful chieftains, enigmatic rulers whose names are whispered in sagas, and strange rituals that connected humans to gods, spirits, and the untamed wilderness. Some of these rituals may seem dark or even terrifying to us today, but they were a key part of the Norwegian identity, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Then came the Vikings, whose very name evokes both awe and fear. From the late 8th century, Norway became the cradle of some of the most daring explorers in history. Vikings were more than raiders. They were skilled navigators, traders, and settlers who ventured across the North Sea, the Atlantic, and even as far as the coasts of North America long before Columbus. Yet despite the detailed accounts of their raids and settlements, much of Viking life remains shrouded in mystery. How did these seafaring warriors navigate vast oceans with nothing but the stars, primitive tools, and instinct? What drove them to risk everything in search of wealth, land, and honor? The sagas give us glimpses into this world, but they are often intertwined with myth. They speak of legendary figures like Harald Fairhair, who united Norway under a single crown, or Eric the Red, whose descendants would journey across the Atlantic. But separating fact from fiction is nearly impossible. Archaeologists continue to uncover Viking ships, burial mounds, and artifacts, revealing a culture that prized bravery, loyalty, and cunning. And yet, for every discovery, there are countless secrets buried beneath the fjords and forests, waiting for modern eyes to uncover. Even within Norway itself, mysteries abound. The northernmost regions, where the Sami people lived, held traditions unknown to the rest of the country. The Sami were hunters, herders, and shamans, with a deep spiritual connection to the land. Their stories speak of spirits that could protect or punish, of hidden realms accessible only to the wise and brave. Many of these traditions were suppressed or forgotten over centuries, but echoes remain in folklore, songs, and rituals that continue to intrigue historians and anthropologists alike. Political intrigue also shaped Norway's mysterious past. Before the unification of the kingdom, rival chieftains often engaged in battles, alliances, and betrayals that determined who would rise to power. Some kings, like Olaf Tryggvason, became legendary not just for their conquests, but for their mystique, blending Christian and pagan traditions in ways that still puzzle scholars. How did a single ruler command loyalty across such a fragmented land? How did diplomacy, warfare, and sheer charisma intertwine to create the kings and queens whose legacies we still study today? But Norway's mysteries are not only ancient, they continued into the medieval and early modern eras. The Black Death, which swept through Europe in the 14th century, reached Norway in devastating waves. Entire villages vanished, records were lost, and the social fabric of the nation changed forever. What stories were lost to the plague? How did survivors adapt, rebuild, and preserve fragments of knowledge that otherwise might have been erased entirely? Every stone church, every old manuscript, and every surviving artifact is a window into a world that teetered between despair and resilience. Even the landscape itself holds secrets. Fjords hide shipwrecks and forgotten settlements. Mountains conceal caves where humans and animals once sought refuge. Rivers may carry remnants of early civilizations waiting to be unearthed. Modern technology, from ground-penetrating radar to DNA analysis, has begun to reveal these hidden layers, but the deeper truth of Norway's past remains tantalizingly out of reach. Every discovery raises new questions. Who were these people? What drove them to thrive in such a harsh environment? And what can their lives teach us about our own survival and identity? The more we uncover, the more the mystery deepens. Norway is not just a country, It is a living testament to human endurance, ingenuity, and mystery. From the earliest stone tools to the grand Viking ships, from the whispered legends of kings to the enduring traditions of the Sami, Norway's history is a puzzle with pieces scattered across time and geography. Some pieces fit perfectly, telling us stories of courage, love, and conquest. Others remain stubbornly elusive, teasing us with shadows and fragments that may never fully reveal their secrets. And this is the true power of Norway's history. It compels us to explore, to question, and to imagine. Each fjord, each ruin, each artifact is a doorway to the past, urging us to uncover the truths hidden beneath layers of legend, time, and memory. The mystery of Norway is not a barrier, it is an invitation. It calls to historians, adventurers, and dreamers alike, offering a glimpse into a world where the boundaries between reality and myth blur, where bravery and cunning determine survival, and where every secret holds the potential to rewrite what we think we know. So as we begin this journey into Norway's past, remember, the story is far from complete. What you are about to witness is a tapestry woven from myth, legend, and history, a tale that challenges our understanding, provokes our imagination, and inspires awe at the resilience of a people who thrived against impossible odds.